Attention all operators on countdown 1. This is the final go, no-go poll for Starship.
We're going to visit the historic Launch Complex 39A, where we launched all of our moon missions and even some space shuttle missions.
Elon Musk is known for pushing the boundaries of what's truly possible. And now, he isn't just thinking about Mars, he wants to make interstellar space travel a reality.
Coming up in about 5 seconds here, the side booster's landing burn will begin as well.
That's all thanks to a new space engine that's been in the works. 1. Is interstellar space travel even possible? Space is massive, and that's an understatement. Even the closest star, Proxima Centauri, is incredibly far away, about 4.25 light-years from Earth. Right now, traveling such vast distances with our current technology would take thousands of years. This is the major hurdle when it comes to exploring space. Sure, we've sent probes to distant planets and even touched down on the moon, but anything beyond that, like reaching other stars or discovering new planets, feels impossible. We've achieved a lot in space so far. We've been to the moon, sent probes to explore Mars and other planets, but those are still baby steps in the grand scheme of things. Anything beyond that, like traveling to another star or finding habitable planets, is way out of reach with today's technology. 2. But Musk has a vision. Elon Musk has always been known for his bold and futuristic ideas. While sending rockets to space and colonizing Mars is already a massive ambition, Musk's long-term vision is even crazier. He wants to send humans to other star systems. That's right, not just to our neighboring planets like Mars, or even further out in our solar system, but to places beyond our own star. The idea of interstellar travel might seem like science fiction, but Musk believes it's possible. In fact, he's always thinking about how humanity can ensure its survival by becoming a multiplanetary species. And that means looking way beyond Earth and Mars. Musk knows that these ideas sound far-fetched, and we're still a long way from making them a reality. But according to him, every big goal starts with a first step, and SpaceX is already working on those steps. 3. So how is he going to achieve this? Well, SpaceX is already building the rocket that could eventually make interstellar travel possible, and it's called the Starship Super Heavy. This is no ordinary spacecraft. In fact, it's designed to be the most powerful rocket ever built, even stronger than NASA's famous Saturn V rocket that took astronauts to the moon. Starship Super Heavy is meant to carry enormous amounts of cargo and even people, not just to the moon or Mars, but to the farthest reaches of the solar system and potentially beyond. The rocket is reusable, which means it can take off, land, and be used again, a key factor in reducing the cost of space travel. Musk has plans for it to carry 200 tons of equipment or passengers in one go. This makes the Starship a game-changer in space exploration because it could make space missions far more affordable and frequent. The ultimate goal for the Starship is to help establish a colony on Mars, but Musk's vision doesn't stop there. The idea is that this same technology could one day be upgraded to take humans beyond our solar system. 4. The first steps, taking over Mars. Musk has a detailed plan for Mars. He's not just looking to send a few astronauts there, he's thinking about sending 1 million people by 2050. That's right, a whole city on Mars. Why such a big number? Musk believes that for Mars to be self-sustaining and not dependent on Earth, it'll need a large enough population to build its own infrastructure, economy, and society. Getting 1 million people to Mars sounds nearly impossible, but Musk has a strategy. SpaceX's Starship Super Heavy will play a huge role in this plan, shuttling people and supplies to the Red Planet in large quantities. Musk has also calculated that Mars will need to be self-sufficient as quickly as possible because the distance from Earth makes governing or supplying from here very challenging. Mars is, after all, millions of miles away, and it takes months to travel there. So, Musk envisions Mars as an independent colony where the people make their own decisions, free from Earth's politics and delays in communication. SpaceX plans to start with small steps, establishing a base on Mars, similar to how early explorers built outposts. From there, they will grow the colony, build infrastructure, and eventually aim for that million-person goal. 5. How exactly are they going to govern Mars? One of the biggest challenges of colonizing Mars is figuring out how to govern it. Unlike Earth, Mars is millions of miles away, which means decisions made here take a long time to reach there. Because of this distance, Elon Musk believes that the people living on Mars should have the freedom to govern themselves right from the start. Imagine trying to run a city on Mars. From Earth, it would be like Britain trying to rule its American colonies back in the day, except way harder. Communication between Mars and Earth can have delays ranging from 4 to 24 minutes, depending on how far the two planets are from each other at any given time. This delay alone could make it incredibly inefficient to have Earth manage the day-to-day activities of a Martian colony. Musk's idea is for Mars to be a place where colonists can make decisions on their own and develop their own rules and systems. Additionally, Mars has access to nearby resources, such as the asteroid belt, which contains valuable materials that could help kickstart a space economy. With fewer restrictions from Earth and an abundance of natural resources, Mars could become a hub for space-based industries and commerce. 6. If that plan fails, Musk has another idea up his sleeve. He wants to colonize Mars no matter what, and that's why he has multiple plans for it. One of them being the Raptor Engine. This engine is designed to be super efficient and powerful, helping SpaceX's rockets carry more payloads and make space travel more affordable. Think of it as the engine that will help ferry astronauts and supplies to Mars regularly, making it possible to build a self-sustaining colony. Rocket engines have a rich history that dates back centuries. The earliest forms of rocket propulsion can be traced back to 400 BC, with the Greeks experimenting with steam power. However, real progress began in the 20th century, with the development of liquid-fueled rockets. In the 1920s, rockets using liquid propellants made their debut, which was a game-changer. Fast forward a few decades, and we saw the introduction of stage combustion engines, which improved efficiency and power. By the 1960s, engines like the RL-10 and J-2 were being used in major space missions, including Apollo's lunar landings. These advancements were crucial for getting humans to space and eventually to the moon. Over time, both government space agencies and private companies like SpaceX have continued to innovate. 7. Raptor Engine is a key component in their quest to revolutionize space travel. The Raptor Engine was designed from the ground up to be more efficient and powerful than its predecessors. It uses a unique combination of liquid methane and liquid oxygen, which makes it different from older engines that typically used kerosene. This setup not only makes the engine more powerful, but also more environmentally friendly. One of the standout features of the Raptor is its ability to be reused. SpaceX has learned a lot from their earlier engines, and the Raptor is designed to be part of a reusable rocket system. This means that instead of throwing away the engine after each launch, it can be refurbished and used again, reducing the cost of space travel. The Raptor engine is also designed to handle high pressures and temperatures, which makes it incredibly efficient. 8. How the Raptor 2 evolved from Raptor 1. The evolution from Raptor 1 to Raptor 2 represents a significant leap in rocket engine technology. Raptor 1, the first version of the engine, was a prototype that laid the groundwork for future improvements. It had a thrust of 185 tons, which was impressive at the time, but it was also quite heavy and complex. The design included a lot of components, which made it bulky and less efficient. When SpaceX moved to Raptor 2, they made several key changes to streamline the design. They simplified the engine by converting flanges into welds and reducing the number of components. This made the engine lighter and more efficient. Raptor 2 can produce 230 tons of thrust, which is a significant increase over Raptor 1. It also sheds a considerable amount of weight, making it easier and cheaper to use. The improvements in Raptor 2 are not just about more power, they're also about making the engine more reliable and easier to manufacture. 9. The production of the Raptor engines is very efficient. One of the most impressive aspects of SpaceX's Raptor engines is how quickly and efficiently they're produced. When SpaceX first started making Raptor 1 engines, the production process was quite slow. It took nearly 2 weeks to build a single engine, which was a bottleneck for their ambitious plans. However, SpaceX didn't stop there. They focused on improving their production methods and reducing the time it takes to manufacture each engine. By the end of 2021, they had switched to producing Raptor 2 engines, and the production speed improved dramatically. Within a year, they were able to produce 200 Raptor 2 engines, cutting the manufacturing time down to about 2 days per engine. This rapid production capability is a game changer for SpaceX. It means they can build more engines in less time, which is crucial for their plans to launch numerous missions and eventually colonize Mars. As technology and processes continue to advance, there's even the possibility of producing multiple engines a day. 10. What will the Raptor 3's design be like? The Raptor 3 engine takes the innovation and efficiency of its predecessors to the next level. One of the standout features of Raptor 3 is its sophisticated design, which includes relocating most of the external plumbing inside the engine. This change not only makes the engine more streamlined, but also enhances its reliability. The Raptor 3 operates at higher pressures than previous models, which allows it to produce more thrust, 280 tons to be exact. Despite this increased power, the engine is lighter than its predecessors. By integrating regenerative cooling channels into the engine casing, SpaceX has eliminated the need for heavy heat shields, which further reduces weight. The improvements in Raptor 3 also address some of the vulnerabilities found in earlier engines. For example, removing or internalizing critical parts reduces the risk of failure. The cost of each engine has also decreased significantly thanks to mass production. 11. They could also use methane as fuel for space missions. Methane is a game changer in the world of rocket fuels, and its use in SpaceX's Raptor engines is a big deal. Unlike traditional rocket fuels like kerosene, methane has several advantages. For one, it burns cleaner, which means less buildup of harmful deposits in the engine. This is a huge benefit because it makes the engine more efficient and easier to reuse. Methane also has a higher performance compared to other fuels, which allows for smaller and lighter rockets. This can lead to significant cost savings, making space travel more affordable. Another exciting aspect of methane is its potential for use on Mars. SpaceX's long-term plan involves creating a self-sustaining colony on Mars, and one way to achieve this is by using local resources. Methane can be extracted from the Martian surface, which means that rockets could be refueled on Mars itself. This would make regular trips between Earth and Mars more feasible and reduce the need to carry fuel from Earth. 12. This could also help with colonizing Mars. SpaceX's use of methane in their Raptor engines is not just a technical choice, it's a strategic move, aligned with their goal of colonizing Mars. Methane's big advantage is that it can potentially be extracted from Mars itself. This could be big for SpaceX's plans because it means they won't have to bring all the fuel needed for missions from Earth. Instead, they could produce methane on Mars, making the missions more self-sufficient and reducing costs. This process, known as in situ resource utilization, is a crucial part of SpaceX's strategy for establishing a permanent human presence on Mars. By using locally sourced resources, SpaceX aims to create a more sustainable and practical approach to interplanetary travel. The ability to produce fuel on Mars also supports the idea of frequent and reliable trips between Earth and Mars. 13. Musk is also teaming up with NASA. His most recent collaboration with NASA is probably his boldest one. Together, they've revealed a new rocket engine that has the potential to travel at 99% of the speed of light. Yes, you read that right. Almost light speed. If successful, this engine could completely revolutionize the way we explore space. Suddenly, traveling to places that seemed impossibly far away, like other stars or even other galaxies, could become a real possibility. Right now, space travel is incredibly slow compared to the vast distances we want to cover. Musk has always talked about making humanity a multi-planetary species, and this technology could be a key part of making that dream a reality. 14. What will the helical engine be like? It's called the helical engine, and it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. Instead of relying on traditional fuel, like rockets do, this engine is designed to run without any fuel at all. Sounds crazy, right? Well, the idea behind the helical engine is to use electric and magnetic fields to accelerate ions, which are tiny charged particles, in a closed loop. These ions are sped up to near light speeds, and as they move, their mass changes thanks to Einstein's theory of relativity. This change in mass creates forward momentum, which propels the spacecraft. 15. How will this engine work? Well, think of it like a loop of particles, or ions, moving really fast in a circular motion. These ions aren't just spinning around for fun. They're actually helping to push the spacecraft forward. The engine uses a combination of electric and magnetic fields to accelerate these ions, speeding them up to nearly the speed of light. But here's the hard part. As the ions move faster, their mass increases. This is thanks to Einstein's theory of relativity, which says that as objects approach the speed of light, they gain mass. The helical engine takes advantage of this by changing the velocity of the ions, which alters their mass and creates forward thrust. In simple terms, the engine pushes the spacecraft forward without needing to burn any fuel. The only thing the engine needs is some initial power to get the ions moving, and after that, it can keep going indefinitely, making it a potentially game-changing technology for long-distance space travel. 16. This idea isn't exactly new. People have been trying to make rockets that don't require fuel for years. In fact, there's been several attempts to build engines like this, but none have really worked out. For example, in the 1970s, an inventor named Robert Cook came up with an engine that used centrifugal force to create forward motion. The idea sounded promising, but it didn't work as expected. Then, in the early 2000s, a British inventor named Roger Scheuer proposed something called the EM drive, which used trapped microwaves to generate thrust. It was a bold idea, but again, it never really took off. Scientists struggled to explain how it worked, and the engine was highly inefficient. These early attempts had big ideas behind them, but they just didn't live up to expectations. The helical engine, however, is different because it's based on Einstein's theory of relativity and uses well-understood science to create thrust. 17. But it's not going to be easy. While the helical engine sounds like the future of space travel, it's not without its challenges. For one thing, the engine is huge, about 200 meters long and 12 meters in diameter. That's about the size of a large building. This massive size presents a problem when it comes to building and launching the engine. Plus, while the theory behind it is solid, it hasn't been fully tested yet. scientists are still figuring out how to make the engine practical for real-world use. Another challenge is that the engine relies on some pretty complex physics. The idea that mass changes as objects approach the speed of light is a tricky concept to wrap your head around, and applying it to an engine is even more difficult. There's also the issue of power. The engine needs an initial source of energy to get it going, and figuring out how to supply that power in space is still a question that needs answering. 18. This could completely change space exploration forever. If the helical engine becomes a working technology, it could completely change how we explore space. Right now, space travel is limited by how fast we can go and how far we can travel with the fuel we have. But with the helical engine, those limits could disappear. Suddenly, traveling to distant planets, stars, and even other galaxies could become possible. 19. Nuclear propulsion will be key for interstellar travel. While rockets powered by traditional fuel are great for getting around our solar system, they're way too slow for interstellar travel. This is where Elon Musk's interest in nuclear propulsion comes in. Nuclear-powered spacecraft could, in theory, travel much faster than the chemical rockets we use today. To give you an idea, the nearest star system, Proxima Centauri, is over 4 light-years away. That's about 25 trillion miles. If we were to use today's rockets, it would take hundreds of thousands of years to get there. But with nuclear propulsion, Musk believes we could cut that travel time down to about 50 years. That's still a long time, but much more manageable. Of course, using nuclear power comes with its own set of challenges. SpaceX would need to figure out how to build a nuclear-powered rocket safely and efficiently. 20. There's also antimatter engines. Nuclear propulsion isn't the only option. SpaceX is exploring for future interstellar travel. Another exciting idea on the table is using antimatter engines. If you've ever watched science fiction, you've probably heard of antimatter. It's the stuff that powers ships in shows like Star Trek, but antimatter is real, and it could be the key to much faster space travel. Antimatter is extremely powerful. It produces about 9 times more energy than nuclear reactions. In theory, a ship powered by antimatter could reduce the time it takes to reach another star from decades to just a few years or even months. The challenge is that antimatter is very hard to come by. Right now, creating even a tiny amount of it is extremely expensive, and we don't have the technology to store it safely for long periods of time. 21. And let's not forget about warp drive technology. Musk is also looking into the possibility of warp drive technology, saying it could actually become a reality. The basic idea of warp drive is that instead of moving a spacecraft faster than light, we manipulate space itself. Think of it like this. Instead of zooming through space, you're bending space around you. Imagine space as a big, stretchy fabric. You could contract the fabric in front of your ship and expand it behind you. This would create a bubble where you're moving faster than light relative to the space outside the bubble. It's kind of like taking a shortcut through the universe. 22. Could they make a warp drive starship? They've combined advances in quantum mechanics with something called exotic matter. Exotic matter is a special type of matter with negative energy, which is crucial for creating the warp bubble around the spacecraft. SpaceX has also tapped into zero-point energy, which is the lowest possible energy that exists, to power the warp drive. With these new technologies, they've managed to build and test a small warp bubble in a lab, which is a huge step forward. Do you think Elon Musk could make interstellar space travel a reality? What's next for our solar system?